Du gibst mir das Zeichen, du sagst Bescheid. Hello everyone and welcome to the 5th edition of the Quarantäne Talk, a co-production of Mila Freiheit e.V. from Cologne and Experimentelles Zukunftslabor in Berlin. In this talk show, Quarantäne Talk, each week we invite a group of people who represent a topic which we feel needs more attention at the moment. Today's talk is about a topic which is very close to our hearts and has initially lost dramatic attention in recent weeks throughout the corona outbreak. We will be talking about the situation of refugees at the borders of Europe and beyond today. Therefore, I'm really happy to welcome 5 very interesting guests today. We have, on the one side, we have Muhammad Kashef from Alarm Phone, Watch the Med Alarm Phone. Then we have Thomas Lansky from Sea-Watch. We have Sophie Linst, or Sophie Egli also, isn't it? Sophie Egli?
Egli.
Sophie Egli. We have Sophie Egli from the Medical Volunteers International. Very welcome also to Omar, who is zoomed in from Turkey, from the Independent Doctors Association. He will tell us some stuff about the situation in the border regions of Turkey and Syria. And then I'm very happy to welcome Tarek Alaos, right? From Seebrücke. Welcome, everybody. I also warmly welcome Maya Smozhna, who will translate from German to English for us today. Hello, Maya.
Hello.
Also very important for you, our viewers, you have the possibility to, to post your questions today. They can be posted in the comments section on the side. Just post them and we will try to integrate them into the talk. So yeah, absolutely feel free to drop your thoughts and questions, and then we see. Before we get started, I would find it exciting to hear from each of you guys what you actually are doing in your organizations. So maybe we can do a small round in which everyone says 2 sentences about what your responsibilities are for the organization you're working at. Omar, do you want to start, please?
Okay. Hey guys, my name is Omar Safadi. I am from Aleppo, Syria, and I am working as a partnership coordinator in Independent Doctors Association. It's like a Syrian-Turkish organization working to serve people in Syria and Turkey.
Thomas, what about you? Your microphone?
Yeah, I'm working since 4 years on board of the Sea-Watch ships as driver, as RIP driver. RIP is the small boat we use for our rescues. And beside that, I'm working in the background as a kitchen logistic person, and I'm working in the crewing team, what means that I'm responsible to fill out some positions on board to find volunteers for this and to organize the crewing structure, the travel things, and so on.
Tarek, what about you?
Ja, Tarek Laus ist mein Name. Ich bin bei der Seebrücke seit Juni 2018, seit Anfang an. Gerade bin ich im Q-Kreis der Seebrücke. Der Q-Kreis ist eine Gruppe, die oberregionale Arbeit für die Seebrücke machen, unter anderem die Advocacy-Arbeit, Netzwerkarbeit auf Bundes- und Landesebene und auch auf EU-Ebene. Und ich mache diese Arbeit mit weiteren 14 Personen, die deutschlandweit verteilt.
Okay, I will translate. So Tarek works for the Seebrücke. He started in 2018, so from the beginning of the organization, and they work like over different regions. They advocate, do advocacy, work in the European Union and also in Germany.
Perfect, thank you very much. Sophie Egli, what about you?
Hey guys, I'm Sophie. I worked for Medical Volunteer International. They're an NGO that provide healthcare to refugees in Greece, also in Lesbos, where I was for half a year. And what I did there is that I was on the North Shore, where most of the boats arrived from Turkey, and we provided as emergency response team healthcare to the arriving people on shore.
Kashef, last but not least.
Hey, I'm Kashif from Watch the Med Alarm Phone. Watch the Med Alarm Phone is a hotline platform and the network spread around the Mediterranean, support and assist people crossing the Mediterranean in distress. I joined in 2016 back in days in Egypt. I was in Egypt and in Berlin since 2017 now. Mostly working on the advocacy, networking, and doing the shift. I'm a lawyer and also a consultant in the topic of refugees' rights and migration, especially the EU policies and treatment with North African countries.
Perfect. I'm very excited to also ask you a few questions about the whole law situation that we're having at the moment. So let's start. Sophie, I will start with you. In the last 2 months, due to Corona, the situation on Lesbos has changed quite a bit. Can you give us maybe a personal insight on the situation there? How have things changed on the island, and especially for you and your work on the island when you were there?
So if we talk about the last 2 months, I think it's I have to start with that the situation on Lesbos in general escalated on many levels, and not only because of Corona. There were a lot of demonstrations, a lot of escalations between locals, refugees, authorities, and so on, and NGOs also. So it was the last 2 months was already very, very confusing, very upsetting also, and the situation for the refugees got worse and worse in the camp of Moria, but also outside, for example, in the North Shore where they arrived. So what Corona really changed is, first of all, Moria got locked down, so they didn't accept any new people. So if they arrived from on the North Shore, we could not bring them anywhere. So they were stuck and stranded literally on the beach where we found them. So our work changed there, that it was not only an emergency response where we really just treated life-threatening conditions and could send them to the next station, which is Moria, and which is really not a nice station to send someone to. But with Corona also, we were restricted to go to the people because everybody expected actually Corona spreading in the island very fast, which did not happen because actually it's an island with not a lot of in and outs. And the first and until now also the only cases of COVID were not from the refugees, were from locals.
But there are already COVID cases on the island at the moment.
On the island, yes, but officially not in Moria. I mean, also unofficially. I just think if there would be, it is not guaranteed that we would know and that it would be diagnosed like this. But of course, the spread would go on very, very fast, and we would learn about it very fast. But so far, I think there's like 5 cases, and it were all from locals who were somewhere in the holidays or on the mainland bringing it to the island.
Mm-hmm. And the people that stranded on the North Shore, which there was no more camp to bring them to, where did they actually stay in the end, or where are they staying now when they arrive?
Still there.
On the beach.
On the beach, yes. So when I'm back in Germany now, but 3 weeks ago, we were also not allowed to go to them anymore, but they are still on the beach. And they are only the only people who still go there is the local policemen. So they're like guarded 24/7, but they are not provided with any sanitary supplies or toilets or food. Food and water is something that we could not really find out how regularly they provide it. Of course, they provide it, but really not 3 times a day, and food that you really want to eat. So yeah, they're there. They get one UNHCR tent, but it doesn't really matter how many people there are. So I remember one group, they arrived with 8 people. They all knew each other, so one tent is kind of okay. But also we had a group of more than 40 people, and they also got one tent, and that's it. And they stay
Wow.
on the beach or on the side of the road.
Okay, that's crazy. And how many people arrive there on a daily basis?
On a daily basis, not anymore. Like, we did not have one boat per day. Back in December or November from last year, we had up to 5 boats a night. That changed a little bit, but that is not because of Corona. That's because of all the other circumstances what are going on in Turkey, and also people know. I mean, they communicate and they get to know how they are not allowed to claim asylum anymore since March. So they just stopped it. Greece just stopped the right to seek asylum. So people are just there stuck on the beach. One group got deported after weeks on the beach. They just got in onto a big ship and were deported to the mainland, to a detention center. So yeah, a lot of other reasons also. I think they led to a decrease of arrivals, which will not stay like this forever, of course.
Okay. And how did your organization react regarding the coronavirus? Did you have any did you change your medical devices? Did you have testing capacities, or was it just you just knew the virus was there but you couldn't really do anything?
No, we couldn't do anything. So the testing is due to the local hospital, which is in Mytilene, which is 1.5 hours away, and they don't have the capacity. Of course, they would start with the people in the hospital, but there are like people on the North Shore are far away to be brought to the hospital there. So in Moria also they're not testing as far as I know, but again, like, I didn't work there. On the North Shore, no. I mean, actually, when people are stuck on the beach for so long and they are also like a closed group, they travel together for so long, they are in, let's say, natural quarantine already. But that doesn't help if you get thrown into a camp with 20,000 people after, or be deported for no reason. So we couldn't really change our way of work. More, we were restricted of going to the people because locals and authorities were afraid that we get in contact with people, and of course all the atmosphere of the hate against refugees was pushed with the coronavirus, and being they took it as a reason, of course, that we should not go see them, and they really restricted our work until they prohibited all the way the medical support, or even just going there to provide water or dry blanket or baby milk for babies.
So at the moment, there's nobody there.
There's
from your
nobody there.
organization?
There's the local police, but all NGOs evacuated because of all the demonstrations and escalations in March, and medical support is not there at
Not
all.
happening. Okay, crazy. Yeah, Tarek, what do you think about this when you hear this from a lawyer's perspective?
Also, ich würde die Situation auf den griechischen Inseln nicht nur mit die Corona-Krise jetzt verbinden. Ich war selbst auf Chios im Jahr 2017 und ich weiß, dass die Lage schon mal dort war auf Chios, dass Menschen schon seit Jahren auf diesen Inseln sich befindet haben, dass die Grundversorgung fehlte damals, dass Angriffe an geflüchteten Menschen auf dem Insel gab damals, aber auch so, dass die Menschen in militärischen Lagern leben sollten, wie Veal auf Chios. Das ist ein militärisches Camp, der für Unterbringung von Menschen dort eingerichtet wurde, wo keine Organisation oder keine Hilfsorganisation einfach reingehen, könnte oder dürfte, um dort Hilfe zu leisten, sondern bräuchte eine sehr lange bürokratische Weg zu gehen, um bestimmte Erlaubnisse zu erhalten, um die Menschen dort zu Ort zu helfen. Es ist nicht neu, die Situation, sondern ist extremer geworden, natürlich, kann ich verstehen, von rechtlicher Perspektive. Es gibt auf jeden Fall die EU-Aufnahmerichtlinie, die in allen EU-Ländern gelten soll. Und es ist eine Pflicht, was in Griechenland zum Beispiel nicht gehalten wurde, aber auch in Deutschland, in den Unterkünften, geflüchteten Unterkünften in Deutschland nicht gehalten wurde.
Okay, I will try to translate. So the situation now on the Greek islands, actually, it's not really new. This like the bad situation, difficult situation there was already like this before. I also I have been to the islands before, and there was not enough like equipment there before. There were also like actions against refugees at that time, and it's like a military camp. So there's also very difficult for organization to enter it, and there's like that's why the situation it's not new. Like it's not new because of the corona, but was difficult before. And there's also like a law from the European Union about situation in the camps, but this law it's not respected in Greece to some extent. Yeah.
Ja, nicht nur auch die EU-Aufnahmerichtlinie, sondern geht es auch darum, der Recht auf einen Asylantrag zu stellen. Ist so, das Recht auf Asyl ist ein Menschenrecht laut verschiedener rechtlicher Fassungen. Das ist gerade nicht gehalten. Nicht nur in Deutschland, sondern auch in verschiedenen Ländern in Europa. Das Recht ist ausgesetzt einfach. Und das sind internationale einfach Verordnungen und internationale Vereinbarungen, die das Recht einfach sichern, was gerade nicht gehalten wurde.
Okay. So like there's no option right now to apply for like the asylum in European Union, and this law should be like the human law. It's not respected right now, and there's no option to apply for asylum in the European Union, which is not situation that we should accept.
Yeah, we will be talking about the EU admission policy later on also a little bit. Thomas, just until Corona came up, Sea-Watch was tirelessly active, is still probably tirelessly active in rescuing people on boats in the Mediterranean. What has changed for Sea-Watch and your work as a result of the Corona pandemic in the sea rescue?
Yeah, the result from the last weeks is that we are actually not able to send one of our two ships out. We have the Sea-Watch 3, which is already working for us since 2 years, and Sea-Watch 3 is actually in Italy. And we are waiting that the travel restrictions in Italy are getting a bit down. We expect this for the beginning of May, and then we try to send their crew, which is able to stay longer than usual. Normally the people are on board for 4 weeks. Now we are looking for a long-term crew which can stay 2 or 3 months, because of the actual situation, current situation, we can't really plan. We can't follow our regular time schedule, because we will have quarantine times, we will have standoffs. That means that we have people on board and no port allows us to enter. So yeah, we are looking forward to a hard time, but we are also looking forward to go out in May with Sea-Watch 3. Sea-Watch 4 is actually located in Spain in a shipyard. We bought this ship in February, and the plan was to go out right now. But now the shipyard works in Spain stopped in cause of Corona, and actually we can't work. And also one big problem is
that's the only reason why you're not out there is that they're not working on the boat right now.
For Sea-Watch 4, this is the reason, because Sea-Watch 4 is, we bought it new. It's not ready for rescue operations. And yeah, Sea-Watch 3 is in course of the travel restrictions and also the shopping restrictions. Actually, it's not possible to go in a supermarket and to buy food for 100 people for weeks. And we are on it, and yeah, we are looking forward to it, that we can continue our work in May. And also political-wise, it's absolutely not easier. Also the last year, we had a lot of problems, a lot of trouble, and the EU countries are looking for a lot of reasons to block our ships, to block their ports. And so now Corona is also, I believe, a very welcome reason for the countries to say, oh, sorry, we are not a safe port, we have enough problems. But yeah, nobody deserves to drown at sea. And so we will continue our work and hope that we will find solutions.
Yeah. Do you feel that the Corona pandemic has an impact on the amount of refugees coming to Europe?
No. Maybe Kasia from Alarmphone can say more about this topic. But actually, so the last weeks there was a lot of traffic at the Central Med, and because there is war, and because of Corona, the people are not talking so much about other topics like wars on this world, but actually, so the last weeks in Libya, the situation escalated totally, and there is more reason to leave the country than in the last weeks, and then there is anyway. And also the Libyan Coast Guard is more involved in war than in blocking migrant boats, and they are also now involved in Corona problems, and they say they don't have enough masks and sterilization stuff. And so, yeah, I think actually they are coming there's at least the usual traffic, or maybe also a bit more.
Kashev, what can you say about that?
So actually, as mentioned, as Thomas mentioned, regarding the Libyan Coast Guard, they are not a Coast Guard. They are just militias with weapons who control in some ports and some territorial waters in some cities, and then got funded by some European states with EU permission, and they become a Coast Guard, and then we announce the Libyan Search and Rescue Zone. They are involved for sure, and the war happening in Libya now between the Libyan, which called the National Libyan Army, which is a militia, by the way, and the government, Lasraq government in Tripoli in West. There is war. There is people running from war. The control used to be high repressive on them, and suddenly they found a chance just to cross the sea. And then we say, okay, but Europe and Italy now suffer from COVID-19. The people there really don't care about it. For them, COVID-19 is better than taking a bullet in your head, or just stay serving as a slave for next few years. So they just cross the sea, and that's what we witnessed. And in Easter time, like an Easter holiday, there were many crossing. More than 8 boats were in contact with Alarmphone. Some even ghost ships reached Lampedusa and Pozzallo without rescue. Others was in need for rescue from the Maltese Coast Guards, and as we see nowadays, even Guardian just published today an article about what happened in Easter vacation.
And
so people are still, so I'm sorry, but people are still crossing the sea, and they will not stop. They just stop when the weather is bad. Anything else that concerns us, don't concern them.
Yeah. And they are, like you said, they are fleeing from war and from bullets more than from a virus or what is, yeah. Another question, how do people actually know about the alarm phone?
So in the beginning, let's say we were rich in migrant communities and people crossing. In the beginning, it started just a hotline, just the number, and we were spreading the number on the ground and through different communities and through refugees communities in Europe, because for sure they know people that they want to cross, and that's how we were reaching out. Recently, for the last 2 years, actually, the media, even the right-wing media, talking about alarm phone, and alarm phone are more in the media and the screens on the internet. So it's easy for someone who wanted to cross the sea to do like a simple research to find that out, like hotline assisting or supporting people in distress.
So people just use it on a regularly basis, and do you get more and more calls on the alarm phone?
Yeah, let's say that in the summer, which called summer of migration in 2015, most calls was from Aegean, and then it turned to be in 2017, 2018 turned to be from West Mediterranean, and in 2016 it started from the Central Mediterranean, and nowadays we witness that like the higher calls come from Central Mediterranean to alarm phone.
All right. Tarek, many people come to Europe because they are fleeing from war, because they hope for a better life. What does the current situation, how does it affect them? What do they think about the European states not letting anyone entering and stuff?
Also genau wie Kashif das gesagt hat, die Menschen, die nach Europa kommen, sind einfach Menschen, die entweder in Folterlagern in Libyen leiden oder geleidet haben oder aus den Kriegen in anderen Ländern fliehen oder in der Türkei in satellierten Lagern leben mussten für Jahre und einfach irgendwie den Weg oder die Entscheidung getroffen haben, oder mit der Hoffnung, ein besseres Leben zu haben in Europa oder überhaupt ein Leben zu haben in Europa, sich auf den Weg gemacht haben und Europa erreicht haben. Die erste, was sie begegnen, entweder einfach eine Ausgrenzung in Lagern wieder in Europa, einfach eine Aussetzung eines Menschenrechts auf eine Antragstellung, auf eine Asylantragstellung, wäre ich eine dieser Personen, würde ich sagen, also es macht einfach die Hilflosigkeit, tötet einfach. Was Europa gerade macht, ist einfach eine Abschreckungspolitik, die gar nicht die Fluchtbewegung stoppen wird. Die Menschen, die einfach sich auf den Weg machen, fliehen nicht deswegen, weil eine Seenotrettung im Mittelmeer gibt, sondern weil sie einfach nur ein Leben haben, die sowieso in Gefahr ist in Libyen. Und haben sie so 1% Hoffnung, dass sie irgendwann in Europa ankommen und ein Leben zu haben oder ihren Leben zu retten. Diese Abschreckungspolitik wird auf jeden Fall die Fluchtbewegung nicht stoppen. Was Europa mit den Menschen gerade macht, ist einfach mehr Todeszahlen von Menschen zu schaffen. Einfach die Zahlen gehen hoch, die Menschen, und wie gesagt, das wird die Fluchtbewegung gar nicht stoppen in diesem Fall.
Ja, Maya?
Sorry. So I'll be translating. So yeah, as was said, like people are fleeing to Europe because of the war and because of the situation there, and they have been to the camps, war camps there. and they just like hope for a better life in Europe, or like at least a life. And the situation in Europe, it's like it's again like they land in camps, and like the politics of Europe right now doesn't help at all. And this like politics of fear doesn't help, doesn't stop people to flee to Europe anyways. And they like their lives are in danger, and that's like for them the motivation to go to Europe. And they have like 1% of like hope that they will find a better life, or like at least a life in Europe. And the European politics doesn't stop them because they have to flee. Yeah.
Omar, what is the situation in the Turkish-Syrian border region like? And yeah, what is it there?
Actually, like as everyone knows, since 2015, Turkey applied closed their border between Syria and Turkey, and that allowed for like few number of humanitarian workers to go to inside Syria and coming back. So like since that time, we did not expect, or we did not face any huge IDP waves towards Turkey. However, it's like small number coming in way or another. However, if we talked about like the Syrian northern border, where the majority of the camps, the situation is quite catastrophe, because like in the period between December up to March, we faced a over than 1 million people displaced from their houses because of the Syrian regime attacks supported by the Russian air jets. So like over than 1 million displaced toward the north, and there was no shelters. There was like a deep shortage in the shelters. So like during the winter, people like spend
1 million people you're
yes,
talking about.
1 million people, yeah, 1 million people. And right now, like only 119 like get a chance to come back, to go back to their houses. So right now there is like approximately old and the new IDPs. We have over than 1.5 million in the tents, in a random settlements or a camps, relying on humanitarian aid, as well as like the host community or the villages where those people are living nearby. The situation as well is catastrophe, because like there is no the poverty line is quite high. 85% of this population are living under $1.5 per day, and they are relying on humanitarian aid in all sectors, in health, nutrition, food, shelter, wash, hygiene, etc., to get their basics lives. And only like the work opportunity, it's quite limited. It's only like between the community itself, or between the camp itself. So selling something, get something in return, and that's it. So the situation is quite bad. If we talked about like the refugees accommodating, Syrian refugee accommodating inside Turkey in the southern city, just like Hatay, Gaziantep, and Kilis, those cities or those provinces are like on the next side of the borders. The situation is quite more stable. However, because of coronavirus, and as everyone knows, the majority of the Syrian refugee are working in illegal way, or they are not registered. So they lost their opportunity to work, or they get like their monthly income to get their bread. So yeah, and what I'm trying to say here, that the situation again inside Turkey for the Syrian refugee is quite bad. They still have access to healthcare. They still have access to like basic services. However, they need to pay their house rental. They need to pay for food, and since they are not getting any governmental support as a cash or income, they are facing like such a challenge right now.
Wow, this sounds horrible actually. What is
Yeah.
how do the Turkish people react to the Syrians?
Actually, it depends on the area, because like right now in Turkey, there is over than 3.7 million Syrian refugee registered as a under, they call it temporary protection, which mean like they get like temporary protection from the Syrian, from the Turkish government. Only less than 200,000 of them are living in camps inside Turkey. So we are talking about like approximately 3.1 million are living in rented houses, and they are getting, and like according to 2019 report, there like approximately 1 million Syrian refugee received monthly financial support from the Turkish Red Crescent funded by the EU to help the Syrian family to pay their rent and cover their basics.
Mm-hmm.
If we talked about the social cohesion, after like 8 years, I think like we reached a good point. However, in any issue happened inside Turkey, in any context, the Syrian refugee are the first person to point on and like blame them. Like example, in the beginning of Corona, everyone said like the Syrian refugee are the cause of Corona until like the government came up and said no, it's they are not. When there's like any issue in some government like the population in other areas like start to attacking Syrians or start to blaming them of what is going on. So it's quite critical, but we can say like a little bit stable. However, it needs more and more effort to reach like a better level of cohesion between Turk and Syria.
And people in those regions, what do you feel? Have they lost hope, or are they hoping to go back one day, or how do they actually look into the future?
Actually, it's a quiet. I am a refugee right now, and I'm working for humanitarian. It's a quiet, like a tricky question. If you are telling me like to go back to Syria right now, at any point I can be under like a Syrian regime attack, or in internal fight between the opposition forces and like lose my life, or to stay here in Turkey with like a minimum basic services, I will gonna say no. I will gonna stay here in Turkey. Right now, after 8 years, there is no like any political, peaceful future for the Syrian context, and the international player in the Syrian crisis are quite many, and the situation is quite changeable. So according to like the assessment done in 2019 in December, I think, no, in October, inside Syria, asking people if you are wishing to go back to your original places, the majority of the answer was yes. In Turkey, the majority of the answer was no. Why? Because if I am IDPs living in a tent, I will hope to go back to my house to have a roof to protect me from rain. But if I am in Turkey right now, I don't want to go back to like to roof and lose it at any time. So
Mm.
got my point. It's like quite critical. People are willing to go back, but they are seeking for like a clear future, know what to understand what they will gonna do and what's the future of the Syrian context.
And now the COVID-19 disease also adds up to this whole situation. I mean, how are you and your organization, how are you responding to this, and how do you handle the situation? Are people aware of the dangers? Yeah.
As my colleague said, like to get coronavirus or to die because of lack of food, the person will answer you, no, I will get coronavirus. I have a chance to recover. But if I died from because I don't have like to feed my children, it's like it's quite ununderstandable situation or topic. So right now in IDA, we used to provide health and nutrition, healthcare for military. For surgical cases and non-surgical cases through like hospitals and primary healthcare centers, ambulances, as well as taking care of children and women who has like a malnutrition um, issue, and like provide the protection support through psychosocial support for children and women as well. In the coronavirus, in the area controlled by opposition, which is like the northwest of Syria. Uh, Up to date, there is no laboratory confirmed cases yet. However, at the beginning, we were like the whole there was no laboratory to handle with or to confirm any cases, and there was like a huge displacement waves. So people was not taking this issue seriously. In IDA and with the support of other health actors or NGOs in the area, we were trying like to raise the awareness of people of or the IDPs, internal displaced people or the internal refugee, and teaching them how they supposed to wash their hands, to protect themselves, about the social distance, etc., etc. And thanks God, up to date there is no laboratory confirmed cases. But however, like in any time there is one case in northwest Syria, we will gonna find new Wuhan in the world, because like we are talking about like over the 1.2 million living in camps and 5 million population going on a daily basis to find like a daily income or daily paid money and go back to their houses. So we cannot tell them stay at house, and there is no government to support them on a monthly basis with like financial income or etc. So one case only, it is enough to make new Wuhan in this world, and it will be like infection point to be spread out.
Yeah, it also sounds like there are not many options to actually, yeah, prevent something like that, right?
Yes, well, what we are trying right now, like we are trying to protect the health workers. In IDA, we have approximately 1,000 health workers providing health services. We give them like we call it like prevention kits. It's like a masks, some dress, some gloves, and it gets changed on a daily basis. As well as we supplied all our facilities with medical and non-medical sterilization materials. We reduced the number of escorts came with the patient to the to the facility. We installed some tents in front of each healthcare center. These tents managed by one nurse in order to take like a heat and to detect cases, and the cases who may have a coronavirus, we refer them to higher management facility in order to be tested and managed.
Okay. Sophie, the European Union and the Greek government have announced to evacuate the island, Lesbos, and to give shelter to the people on the main shore. What do you think about these plans? Oh, your microphone?
Sorry, you hear me now? Yeah.
Yep.
Oh no, I think especially on the Aegean Island, there has been so many promises and so many announcements for the last couple of years that I think you first believe something when it actually happened, and not when something is announced, because it's Greece. Greek politics is very messy, very spontaneous sometimes, and I will not believe it until it happened. Also, what we saw now when they started to evacuate kids, the question that I'm asking myself is, how do they choose those 50 kids from more thousand kids who actually need them? Like I don't know the procedure, but I think it's I don't know how they want to manage the procedure or I mean, actually, every single case in Moria is a vulnerable case, right? Especially when we talk about Corona now. Yes, we have Corona awareness teams there working there, but when it's not enough to be aware if you cannot really like act on the way that you like the for example social distancing or washing hands, like the basics are not possible, nearly possible there. So I don't know how people will choose the people who have the right to go and evacuate, and people who will leave behind. Also, it's a huge logistical effort to move at once 20,000 people. And again, as everybody else said already, people still coming. Like, it's not, the problem is not solved just because if we already would move those people, the problem why those people are there is not solved at all. So I'm pretty skeptical.
And when we look at the politics, do you think that the majority of the German people support what our politicians are doing at the moment? Or what is your feeling there? I mean, is it like, yeah, or would you say that our democracy fails at this point because actually we have more people who would be willing to support or rescue people from these situations? Yeah.
I mean, of course, I think it's failing. We see that, for example, with the great things that Seebrugge does, and so many people say we have safe ports as cities in Germany, and Berlin blocks it. Of course, it fails, and of course, the decisions are made somewhere, but not by people who would actually be willing to help and have space and understand that those people are also a huge opportunity for all of us and for our society. And even if they wouldn't, still they have human rights that we need to protect. So of course, I think it fails. Yeah.
Thomas, what do you say as a German citizen from birth on?
What would I say as German citizen to what?
To the do you think that our democracy is failing in treating the whole the whole situation at the moment? Because I mean, the politicians are deciding not to rescue people, but on the other side, there's many people, like Sophie said, who are actually willing to help people. So, are there more people in what's your feeling? Are there more people in Germany who are actually willing to support and help, or?
Yeah, I think to answer the first part of the question, I think the politics are failing since years, depending on migrants and on refugees, and yeah, actually, I have a blackout.
No problem. Yeah, I mean, it's because I also get the feeling that there's I mean, you, for Tarek, also from Seebrugge, you also you're you're connecting all these cities and all these people who are cheering towards the rescuing of those people. Yeah, how do you see this?
Also ich würde die Frage ein bisschen anders formulieren. Es gibt auf jeden Fall, wenn ich die Seebrugge sehe, dann sehe ich Menschen, oder Kirchengemeinden, die Seebrugge sich eingeschlossen haben, bis zu Linksaktivisten. Und das ist eine sehr breite Bündnis an Menschen, die von verschiedenen Richtungen oder Denkweisen kommen. Und da denke ich, ja, auf jeden Fall, es gibt auf jeden Fall bei den Menschen die Wille, Menschen aufzunehmen, Menschen in dem Mittelmeer zu retten. Wenn ich sehe, dass mehr als 140 Städte in Deutschland sich bereit erklärt haben, zusätzlich zu den Quoten Menschen aufzunehmen, dann denke ich, ja, auf jeden Fall, es gibt die Wille bei der Zivilgesellschaft, die dieser Druck auf die Kommunen erzeugt haben, damit die Kommunen sich als sichere Häfen in Deutschland erklärt haben und zusätzliche Menschen aufzunehmen. Was aber nicht fällt, ist einfach die politische Welle in Deutschland. Wie gesagt, die Bundesregierung blockiert jeden Versuch, Anträge zu stellen, Menschen aufzunehmen, entweder aus Libyen, entweder aus Italien, entweder auch aus Griechenland. Horst Seehofer bezieht sich, dass er wartet auf eine europäische Verteilungsmechanismus, was in der Realität nicht passieren wird. Es gibt keine, die anderen Länder in der Europäischen Union kooperieren nicht. Die Verantwortung liegt bei Deutschland, die bereits schon mehr als 140 Städten hat, die sich bereit erklärt, Menschen aufzunehmen. Die Verantwortung, wie gesagt, liegt hier. es scheitert nicht an die Bereitschaft der Zivilgesellschaft, sondern an die Wille der Politik, die gerade nicht gibt. Und zweitens, was die Politik auch seit Jahren macht, ist einfach die Menschen gegeneinander auszuspielen. Es gibt mehrere Gesetze, es gibt vielen anderen Agenden, die gerade in den Medien gehen, die einfach Menschen in Deutschland gegen geflüchtete Menschen ausspielen. Es gibt Propaganden, die sagen, zum Beispiel die Arbeitslosquote in Deutschland ist gerade sehr hoch, weil Geflüchteten hier gibt. Wo ich denke, nein, nicht weil Geflüchteten hier gibt, sondern weil die Bundesregierung einfach sich kooperativ mit großen Konzernen macht und sie mehreren Möglichkeiten ermöglicht gerade. Es liegt nicht an Menschen, sondern eher an dieser Politik, die einfach Abschattung und die einfach Geflüchteten als Feinde darstellt gerade.
Okay, I will translate. Yeah, so like exactly. So like Zeebrugge connects like cities and people, and as we can see, I mean, I would try I will ask this question in a different way. I can see many people and many communities, also like religious communities, who have opinions from directions, and they want to help. And
I don't hear anything. I think the connection is
sorry.
off, right? Oh,
yeah,
now it's back. Yeah.
I was I continue. In Germany, there are 140 cities, I think, that are willing to help and to take refugees. And so we can see in Germany like a huge will from the side of civil society, and but there's no will from the side of politicians. And as we know, like the German government blocks all like trials to take refugees right now, and they're waiting for some decisions from European Union sides. Also, like but other European countries doesn't cooperate, and this responsibility is actually here in Germany, because there are people who want to engage in this project in Zeebrugge. And but the problem is also that there's propaganda from the side of the media, and for example, like against refugees, one example is that it was said that like unemployment number, it's rising also like in the refugees community, but it's not the case. Actually, there are other reasons for unemployment in Germany. It's about the economical decisions of the German government working with huge concerns and so on. So it's this propaganda that also makes people to be against refugees right now.
You are muted, Igor.
I'm muted. Okay, yeah. Yeah, Thomas, what do you think? What do the financial and corporate interests? Which role do they play in the politics at the moment?
I didn't understand the question. The financial corporates?
No. Which role do the industrial and financial interests of organizations and economical actors actually play at the borders of the EU concerning like the refugee situation? Do you think there's like yeah, there's like also corporate interests who are affecting the whole situation.
I can't really give an answer on this question.
Okay.
I don't.
Then I have another question for you.
Nice.
As we have many,
Let's try it again.
as we have in Europe, we have, yeah, like Tarek said, and Maya translated, we have a lot of countries that are like not willing to take refugees at all in the European Union, and they're actually blocking, yeah, or playing a big part in this whole blocking of the politics here. And yeah, in general, what do you think? The nationalist and fascist ideologies, they become political mainstream more and more, and they are pushing like into the centrist ideologies and centrist politics. How do you get out of there?
How we can get out of there, I don't know. I think we have to continue our work, and I'm sure we are not alone. And you can see in whole Europe there is the public opinions are moving to right wing. There are much of new orders and laws in the European countries, but I think, yeah, also as Tarek told, or I think it was Omar, there are also a lot of people behind us, and there are a lot of people supporting migrants and NGOs which are working for migrants. And yeah, so I only can hope that we will continue our work and that humanity will not totally die.
Right. Sophie, do you believe in a Europe like it is today? Microphone again.
Sorry, I'm not the most used Zoomer. Like it is today, I think it's not stable. I think this system will, like, it has to collapse very soon, just because, I mean, we're so ignorant. And for example, now here from Germany, we can shut off our phone and we can ignore the problem, but the problem is still there. And this politic is nothing than ignorant. And ignorance will not, like, it just doesn't, how you say in English, it doesn't make the count. Like, it will not be stable forever like this. And I think there's also enough people to push to something else, but for this we need to see this problem as a European and not just as a Greek, as a Italian, as a German problem or whatever. We have to finally see that we're all living in a EU and we have to act like this, and we is also politicians and decisions makers and not only civil society. Now you are mute.
Kashef, do the European leaders deserve to be charged at the International Criminal Court? What do you think?
Okay, you just asked some interesting questions that I want to intervene. Like
Yeah,
the
okay,
first one about the
please.
collaboration between different actors or like different states. Come on, Omar just mentioned that there is more than 4 million Syrian refugees in Turkey, which customers and clients in the Turkish market. And for sure, Turkey has an interest to keep these people stuck somewhere between borders. So consuming in the Turkish market and at the same time using them as a political card to collaborate and to work and to do pressure against EU. The problem is not just in the EU, it's a kind of regional political problems. As this Turkish example, also you will, when you look at the North African states, you will find disaster collaboration between EU and literally dictatorship regimes in North Africa. And refugees are stuck there. The migration routes cross from there, and all this plus the industry and corporations themselves and airlines. Like, okay, when we say that Germany actually wanted to, there is more than 140 something places for refugees agreed in Germany, but Germany cannot take a step because of EU relations with other EU member states. Come on, why people should cross the other countries as happened in 2015? Why we are stuck in the same picture? There is airlines, like Germany itself bring more than 70,000 citizens back to homeland in the start of this the pandemic of COVID-19. So it's all about political decision. It's all about political interest. If we should bring them to ICC, like the International Criminal Court, the Sudanese people succeed to bring Omar al-Bashir, which one of the worst dictatorship in the in the new century, to the ICC. But what happened else? People are still dying. The solution really was the voters themselves. This is democracy. There is a lot of voices saying that we welcome in refugees, we accept in refugees here, but politicians don't listen.
But
they have other interests.
Do you have the feeling that mostly on the one side people say, yes, we are willing to help and also we have to help them, but once it comes to voting, they actually switch their mind?
But where is the vote is?
Yeah, I mean,
where is the official vote? If there is an intention, a good intention, there will be a vote, an official vote, and then democracy works. But to be honest, it's always working like that, yes or no. And people say yes more than no. So it's also about the formulation.
Which part do you think plays Angela Merkel in this role? Which role does she play?
In 2015, it was necessary for her to take such a step. In 2020 and 2019 is totally different era than 5 years ago. So she's a politician. She's playing politics. Depends on the interest. And nowadays she's actually conservative with this even, and not trying to take any progressive decision. And COVID-19 came for her to handle it in such a good treatment, and she and the government handle it in a good way, like Germany as an example of facing the crisis. And now like her popularity is rising up again, is increasing. But when it comes to the refugees, you can hear how she talks about it.
Tarek, what do you think?
Ich würde gerne so einen Schritt zurückgehen. Erstmal, was ich vorhin gesagt habe. Horst Seehofer argumentiert mit einem EU-Verteilungsmechanismus. Der weiß aber ganz genau, dass realistisch dieser Verteilungsmechanismus oder diese EU-Agreement nicht geben wird erstmal. Der argumentiert damit, aber bei ihm fehlt auf jeden Fall die Wille, Menschen aufzunehmen in Deutschland. Die zweite Sache, ich sehe eine große Problem, wie die EU die Migration handelt. Ich meine, die Menschen migrieren ja seit Tausenden von Jahren. Es ist keine neue Sache. Die EU handelt die Migration als ein Problem, wobei die Migration ist ein Fakt. Wenn wir sagen, die Menschen migrieren seit Jahren, die Menschen gehen von einem Land zu einem anderen Land. Und hier in die EU findet die Handlung statt als ein Problem. Sie sehen die Flucht als ein Problem und wollen das Problem lösen. Dann wird auf jeden Fall keine Lösung geben, weil das kein Problem ist. Es handelt sich um Menschenleben, es handelt sich um Menschen, die einfach aus Afrika, aus anderen Ländern hierhin fliehen, um ein Leben zu haben überhaupt. Es handelt sich um Menschen in einem Lebensgefahr stecken und es ist unmöglich, diese Menschen zurückzulassen. Also Ich denke gerade auf die EU-Politik, wie gesagt, wenn wir die Migration als ein Fakt sehen und sehen, wie die EU diese Abschottungspolitik durchführt, das wird auf jeden Fall nicht funktionieren. Im Jahr 2015, was Kaschef gerade erwähnt hat, war keine Öffnung der Grenzen durch die EU-Länder. Das war einfach die Welle der Menschen, die auf einmal nach Europa einfach fliehen möchteten damals. Ich war einer dieser Zehntausende am Hauptbahnhof in Budapest und habe gesehen, wie einfach die Systeme hintereinander zusammenbrachen, wie Griechenland ihre Grenzen öffnete damals, wie Mazedonien und danach Serbien und am Ende Ungarn war nicht in der Lage, die Menschen zu kontrollieren. Das war keine Entscheidung von Deutschland, ihre Grenzen aufzunehmen und die Menschen hier aufzunehmen, sondern hat Deutschland einfach diese Situation ausgenutzt, um zu sagen, wir sind ein Land, wo die Menschenrechte herrschen, wir nehmen diese Probleme, wir nehmen diese Menschen bei uns hier auf und öffnen unsere Grenze. Aber in der Realität, die Entscheidung kam nicht durch Deutschland, sondern durch die Menschen, die Zehntausende am Hauptbahnhof in Budapest standen und einfach nur marschieren wollten, weil, wie gesagt, diese Leben haben einfach nichts zu verlieren. Diese leben in Folterlagern in Libyen. Diese leben in ein Kriegsland wie Syrien und haben nichts zu verlieren. Sie haben nur ihres Leben, das sowieso in ihre Länder in Gefahr steht. Und diese Politik, die EU durchführt gerade, wie gesagt, wird diese Bewegung auf jeden Fall nicht stoppen.
Yeah, that's what you said earlier as well. Nobody can really stop what is happening and the whole movement. And I'm actually trying to translate now because our translator dropped out of the chat. There she is. But yeah, you were basically also saying that, yeah, at the moment, the people or in the politics in the EU, they're problematizing the whole situation. They're making a problem out of it, but it's not a problem. It's more like a situation, a just normal human situation. Since thousands of years, people or humans have been moving throughout the countries and over the planet Earth. And yeah, we actually can't treat it as a problem, but we have to treat it as just a human way of human way of reorganizing, resetting your life when you are in a situation of danger and misery. Yeah, so Omar, one more question for you. What do people in the camps think about the current situation at the European borders and the European position towards refugees? Do they actually care? Or is it a topic at all? I mean, what you described sound really like that they have to they have to focus on just surviving.
Yes, actually, first let me say, I think the majority of people right now, they believe that Europe lost their chair in the international decision making because they are not able to solve the root of the problem either in Northern Africa or in Syria right now. So the waves will keep reaching Europe and the people will keep fleeing, running from the attacks and killing in this area and the dictatorship. Right now, inside Syria, the people inside Syria, they are willing to reach Germany because they cannot see future in Syria right now, and they get upset of all the let us say it all the suggestion, all the decision, all this conference, all this event that done by the politician right now. They are believe that there is only one solution. The head of the regime should be replaced, or someone should take care of Syria in a good way until the system gets built again. But as you know, the Turkish-Syrian border is closed. The Syrian refugee inside Turkey, they try to reach Greek during December and in the period between December and January, but the border was closed, so everyone go back to their provinces in order to keep continue in its life. In a brief, I think the voters in EU right now should take a the right decision and push the politician to take a final decision to solve this problem in either Northern Africa or in Syria to solve the migrants issue and to solve the root of the problem, not only focusing on how you supposed to serve or to handle or to help the refugees reach to EU to get like how we can say it, like to involved in the European community. I don't think they are seeking to be involved in the European community, and they are planning to go back to their home country when it gets better.
So you also say that, yeah, the vote of the people is one of the probably most important ways of solving this dilemma in a way.
The public should do like they should like take an action and strict action and tell their politician, hey guys, you need to solve the problem instead of keep spending money or wasting our time in this issue.
Do you get support from politicians?
No, as IDA, we are humanitarian, 100% humanitarian organization. We are serving based on the humanitarian principles. However, we are communicating with the politicians either in Germany as we are registered there, in Turkey as we are registered there as well, in order to advocate for better access for humanitarian service for people in need in northern Syria, as well as to find like to stop targeting healthcare centers by the conflict parties.
All right. Thomas, how about Sea-Watch? Do you actually feel support in your cause, for your cause at Sea-Watch from politicians in Germany?
Support for our cause?
No, for the cause, for your goals.
Not really. So in the public, sometimes they say, sea rescue is not a crime and blah, blah, blah. But in the end, there is not really support.
Not a single one, not a single person.
Yeah, there are some single persons, so politicians, for example, in the European Parliament, for example, Eric Marquardt from the Green Party, or also Martin Sonneborn from the Partei. They are supporting us a bit. But yeah, so in general, so in the German Bundestag, yeah, there's Die Linke and the Green Party a little bit on our side. But in the practice, there's not really support from political parties, and especially not from the German government. In the public, they say they will, but behind our neck, they try to do everything to avoid that we can go out and do our work and rescue people.
Yeah, and how about the civil society? How has that changed throughout Corona? Do you feel a change from the support of the civil society from before Corona to now?
No, I don't really feel that, but it's also difficult to say because you can't measure it really, because there are no demonstrations, so you can't say there are more or less people going on the street. We have actually the same donations like always, but yeah, we are not out, we are not at sea, we are not doing our work for the last weeks, and it's always when the ship is not at sea, not in operations. Yeah, we are less in the daily topics in the news, and so there's also less reactions on us, because actually we are not working, so nobody can react on our work. But we don't have the feeling that now in course of Corona, nobody is interested on our work or in general on the migrant situation. And actually the public is talking more long not enough, but they're talking more about the situation in Greece than about the situation at sea. But I also think actually the situation in Greece needs very urgently this spotlight.
Mm. One big campaign at the moment is from your organization, Tarek Seebrugge, is hashtag Leave No One Behind. Yeah, what are your goals with this? And yeah, can you tell us something about that?
Ja, es hat eigentlich angefangen am Ende Februar, Anfang März, als die Türkei ihre Grenzen geöffnet hat. Da gab es die erste Kampagne für uns, und zwar Wir haben Platz, um die Menschen, die an den EU-Grenzen zwischen die Türkei und Griechenland blieben, einfach hier in Deutschland aufzunehmen. Wir haben aber im Laufe der Zeit gemerkt, als die Corona-Krise in Deutschland angefangen hat, dass viele PolitikerInnen verschiedene einfach Verständnisse oder Begriffe missbrauchen, wie zum Beispiel den Begriff Solidarität, der sich gerade in der Debatte an die nationalen Grenzen von Deutschland bezieht. Und es wurde von Angela Merkel benutzt, dass die Menschen in Deutschland sich miteinander solidarisieren sollen. Es wurde aber vergessen, dass die Solidarität keine Grenzen bekannt, dass Menschen an den Grenzen oder an Lagern jetzt ausharren müssen oder in Lagern ausharren müssen, dass Menschen, dass es Menschen gibt, die immer noch im Mittelmeer sterben, und von daher haben gesagt, Leave no one behind. Es muss keine Person vergessen werden. Durch diese Kampagne machen wir unterschiedliche Arten von Demos, da gerade die Demonstrationen anhand von Corona-Situationen in Deutschland ausgesetzt sind. Also es gibt verschiedene Arten wie Online-Demos, dass Menschen einzeln auf die Straßen gehen mit Plakaten, Fotos aufnehmen und online zu posten, damit wir die Politik einfach einen Eindruck geben, es gibt immer noch Solidarität mit dem Thema. Es gibt immer noch Menschen, die fordern, Menschen aus den Lagern aufzunehmen. Es gibt unterschiedliche rechtliche Möglichkeiten, dass Deutschland die Menschen aus Griechenland oder aus Libyen oder auch aus Italien aufzunehmen, die die Bundesregierung nicht benutzt. Dieser Druck muss auf jeden Fall aus den Straßen ausgeübt werden, aber auch durch die Zivilgesellschaft, durch verschiedene Arten von Demonstrationen an die Politik ausgeübt wurden, damit die Politik sich bewegt. Und gerade was wir eigentlich sehen, es gab schon die Zusage von die deutsche Bundesregierung, 1500 Personen oder unbegleitete Minderjährige aufzunehmen. Der Zahl liegt bei 50. Die deutsche Innenministerium argumentiert mit Corona-Situation jetzt, und ich finde die Frage total berechtigt, die du, Sophie, gestellt hast. Wie würden diese 50 unbegleitete Minderjährige aus Moria ausgesucht? Also jeder Einzelfall, der dort lebt, ist ein sehr schwerer Fall. Jede Person dort ist einfach, lebt in einer sehr prekären Situation. Wieso 50 Personen? Wieso hat Deutschland einfach die Möglichkeit, 40.000 Touristen aus der ganzen Welt aufzunehmen, und hat sie die Möglichkeit einfach nicht, geflüchteten Menschen aus Moria aufzunehmen? Und das ist einfach die richtige Frage, die man stellen muss. Einfach, es liegt an die politische Wille. Und durch diese Kampagnen versuchen wir gerade Druck auf die Politik aufzuüben, damit wir sie ein bisschen bewegen, dass sie einfach zu dem normalen Zustand zurückzukehren. Was gerade in Europa passiert, ist gar nicht normal, gar nicht menschlich und gar nicht moralisch. Und wir versuchen dadurch einfach ein Stück nach dem normalen Zustand zurückzukehren.
Okay, I was out for a second, but I will try to translate. So the campaign Leave No One Behind started in March, and So it's about bringing refugees from the Greek-Turkish border to Germany. And so it's also like there was few sentences about solidarity. So politicians use this term of solidarity right now only in reference to Corona crisis. Yeah, so the solidarity like inside of national borders, but we have to remember that solidarity doesn't have any borders, and there are still people who die in the sea on the way to Europe, and that's why this campaign should like also make a pressure a little bit on German government, and also like address this topic right now. If I miss something, let me know, because I wasn't there for a minute.
I think that yeah, sounds good. Or did you miss anything, Tarek? Anything very important? It was okay, right?
No, I think it was also.
I mean, what you also talked about maybe was about these 50 children that they that yeah, what Sophie mentioned earlier, that they have to choose those 50 children, and how can you choose 50 children from thousands of children? It's actually it's they in Germany in the media they always write about the difficulty of the so-called triage situation, where a medical doctor has to choose between the in this has to choose between the people who he wants to put on the machines, and and they get into the situation who to choose, who can actually survive and who won't survive in the end. And it actually feels like it is kind of like a triage move to choose 50 children from a place, to say, okay, you go to this place and you can have a better life, and the others, we just keep them there. Yeah, Tarek, what do you think? How can how can we, the individuals in Germany, support you or help in this situation? What can we do from your point of view?
Actually, einfach Druck auszuüben, auf Straßen zu gehen, wenn es möglich wäre, zunächst, aber auch durch die Kampagnen, die Seebrücke macht, mitzumachen, zu unterstützen, NGOs wie Sea-Watch, aber auch wie die Seebrücke zu unterstützen, entweder finanziell, aber auch medial, das Thema immer Aufmerksamkeit zu bringen. Es gibt verschiedene Möglichkeiten, dass jeder von uns hier machen muss. Einfach, wir müssen nur sehen, dass wir den Privileg haben, hier in Europa zu leben. Es ist nicht nur ein Privileg, sondern es ist auch eine Verantwortung gegenüber unseren Mitmenschen. Diese Verantwortung sagt, solange wir in Sicherheit hier sind, müssen wir irgendwie das schaffen, dass andere Menschen in Sicherheit sein können. Und ich sehe das auch von der anderen Seite. Ich habe einfach das Recht, laut als eine Person, der in Deutschland lebt, ich selber nicht, aber jede andere Person, der die deutsche Staatsangehörigkeit hat, das Recht, einfach sich überall in der Welt zu bewegen. Und genauso muss das für allen Menschen möglich sein. Es gibt das Recht auf die Bewegungsfreiheit, der gerade gar nicht umgesetzt wurde. Das ist unser Ziel von der Seebrücke. Jede Unterstützung kann helfen, um dieses Ziel zu erreichen. Und wir sind auf jeden Fall an den einzelnen Personen angewiesen, dass jeder von seiner Seite ein bisschen unterstützt, damit wir diese weiter Druck auf die Politik ausüben, damit wir immer das Thema Aufmerksamkeit zu behalten.
Okay, I will translate. So it's important right now to just put the pressure on the government. It's important to go on the streets if it's possible. It's important to support our campaign, the campaign of Seebrücke, but also like other NGOs like Sea-Watch. And we have to also like people can support our campaign like financially, but also like through different media. and it's important that like all people as individuals support us, and they can support us, and we as Europeans or people who live in Europe, we have this privilege of being here, and but we also have a responsibility. So we have to help people, bring them into like a place that it's safe for them, and people like German citizens can move freely to different places, and that's like also a human right to move freely, and that's also our goal to make it possible, for people to move across the borders, and that's the goal of the Zeebrugge. And like all individual can help us to reach this goal.
Thank you very much. Kashef, one way of kind of like building up pressure is through social media, maybe. What do you think? Is it actually supportive when you post social media posts on Instagram and Twitter concerning the whole topic and raising awareness?
For sure, social media has a power, and it has two sides, and it has a power. It has a outreach for to the people, even without let's say the puzzle of audience that used to civil society and support rescue NGOs. But at the same time, it's not enough. Like social media, it's not enough itself. For example, Alarm Phone used recently Twitter for tweeting about the cases, emergency, reaching out for politicians, mentioning different institutes and governmental organizations to put pressure. But it's not enough. It's not the only way that we can use.
So, and what are your plans now for the future at the moment? How are you going to be active?
To be honest, Alarm Phone didn't didn't affect by the situation of COVID-19. The Alarm Phones worked. I mean, because we used to be an online platform. We have a hotline, so it's all the time through the virtual world. It's a communication thing. What affected as affected by others like Sea-Watch, we used to have let's say allies, or what called civil fleet in the Mediterranean, Sea-Watch, Mediterranean, other NGOs. Nowadays you have none. There is nothing. If you receive the call from people in distress, you will just depend on the government and the states, and they don't help. Even nowadays, they are saying it clear: we have no safe harbors, we have no safe ports for these people. Better for them to go back from where they come. And we all witness what happened in the Easter vacation when the Maltese pushed back migrants to Libya during the war. So even nowadays, Europe is just showing the cruel face of that: no human rights, please.
Sophie, same questions for you actually. What do you think about the social media? Is it a way of building pressure for you, and what are your plans for the future?
Well, I can just actually say the same that you said, Kashef, that yes, it's very important. Yes, it's a way where also a lot of people nowadays get their information from and build their opinion on. So of course it's important to be present there and to push, but social media is not, it's Twitter is not the decision making. It's not the people who Twitter is not the thing that will get out of this. So it's just a tool that yes, we have to use, and yes, it's important, but it's not again the final call. That, and you cannot just, if you post one time a day on Instagram how bad the situation in Moria is you didn't help anyone with it. Yes, it's important, but you cannot lie on your couch in Germany and not be aware of your privilege to not do anything active if you actually can. For your question, what we will do, I mean, my NGO is still present, just not in the north because we got rejected there. But we are still trying to go back and talk to everybody who supported us there. We had a huge support of locals who supported us, and we need to go back as soon as possible when also COVID allows to have not so many travel restrictions, because as I said before, people are still stuck on the beach, and now more than ever before they need at least medical support and people who also witness the situation, where we never know what happens when we are not there and people are left alone with authorities that accept pushbacks back to Turkey and so on and so on. So that's the plan for the very close future, I hope.
Omar, how can we support you from Europe, or how can people support you from Europe?
Actually, they can do a lot. First, to advocate for the Syrian crisis and help us to solve the root of the migration problem or migration issue. If we talked about coronavirus, you just said like in some country there is like the doctor reached to like a triage phase where they take a decision to set a case on a device or not. In Syria, we hope we will never reach this stage because we don't have the devices. By the way, right now for 5 million there is less than 100 ventilator, which means that if there is coronavirus in the area, the people will start to die in the street. So any financial support for the local NGOs, I'm not talking here about like a UN agency or etc., where the money is spending in the way between the source and the beneficiary. Just trust in the local NGO and give them the needed donation in order, because 95% of the work right now done by the local NGO inside Syria and inside Turkey as well. So their financial aid or financial support will be highly appreciated, and we will use it to prevent any spreading for coronavirus. In general, we are seeking for any type of donation, any type of advocacy, just because everything is needed, and the needs is in multi-sectoral, which means that if you have anything you need to donate, we are able to deliver it to Syria. If you are willing to donate to Syria, we have some ongoing programs to serve children and women. So we will be happy to implement or to have your contribution in for these programs.
Are there any informations on those local NGOs on your homepage, for example?
Actually, IDA is one of these local NGOs.
It's one of them.
Yes, if you can, maybe you can visit our website. It's www.ida-org.com, and from there you can either donate or communicate with our focal point, communication focal point, and they can propose some of the NGO or help you to donate for IDA for the ongoing programs.
Okay. Yeah, hopefully there are some people who hear this and who are listening to our talk. We will keep on spreading it afterwards. For me, actually, I would say we are coming to an end now. Is there anything that you feel Kashif, there you go. Please.
Yes. So as we are talking in the era of COVID-19, we all now feel the uncertainty of our life. There is no certainty anymore. And actually, this is the daily case for every migrant and refugees around the world, the uncertainty. So I'm really asking and seeking everyone, whoever you are, activist, social worker, try to spread the knowledge around you. And in this time, people are willing to listen because they are feeling different feelings. It's not the world that they used to live in. And hopefully that would change something. Thanks.
Thank you very much for these final words. Thank you all for your time. Thank you, Sophie from Medical Volunteers International for joining us. Thank you, Omar Safadi from Independent Doctors Association. Thomas, thank you from Sea-Watch, Tarek Aloa from Seebrücke, and Mohamed Al-Kashef from Alarm Phone. Yeah, thank you for taking time today. It was a very interesting and inspiring talk. There's a lot left to be done to end this humanitarian crisis and for the international community to stand in for better life conditions for refugees. Each of us has to ask ourselves how we want to look these people in their eyes once we stand next to them. I hope this will happen. Thank you very much. I wish you a good night and yeah, keep on doing what you do.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.